Ian Garry was on the MMA Hour talking about his win over Jeff Neal, and he said a lot of not just delusional things, but incredibly delusional things. And these are things that he didn't even need to be delusional about. It wasn't just his performance and where he stands in the division, it was about all kinds of things. So I'm going to break it down in this video, and yeah, you guys let me know what you think.
I think you're a very good
Yeah.
person who has done nothing wrong. You're not a criminal. You have not done anything to offend anyone, to upset anyone.
Nope.
But I think you have made a conscious decision to say, hey, people want to boo me. I'm going to lean in now. I'll flip you off. I'll say this and that. But deep down inside, you're not that guy. Now, I appreciate you
No.
doing this.
Of course, Ariel Helwani appreciates that he's doing this. If Ariel Helwani had his way, the sport would be exactly like WWE. I have been saying this for years when I didn't have a YouTube channel, that the MMA media secretly, at least many of the members in it, want the sport to be exactly like WWE. They don't want humble mixed martial artists who don't talk trash to promote themselves. And Helwani is by far, by a million miles, the worst at doing that. But what he just said there about Ian Garry not offending anybody, I mean, I've got one screenshot up here of 1,000 of people he has insulted, and it just set the tone for this interview of how Ariel Helwani is going to prop up and entice the UFC hype train to say exactly what he wants him to say and make him feel comfortable. And it's just a tactic that we've all come to know from Ariel Helwani, where he tries to almost speak for the person he's interviewing so that, again, they will say exactly what he wants them to say. Anyway, let's carry on.
I would love that Kobe fight. I don't care where it is on the planet. If it's in Dublin, if it's in Vegas, if it's on the moon, I don't mind where it is. I just want to destroy him and rid him from the UFC. I think he's a terrible person. He's fake. He's a persona. He's a character. Yes, he has fans on his side, but that makes it even bigger. And to beat someone like him, to do it in Ireland would be a dream come true.
And Ian Garry was correct there about what he said about Colby Covington, actually. But does he not realize that he just described himself? He's fake. He's a bad person. He puts on an act. I mean, talk about projection. That was maybe the greatest example in mankind. Let's carry on.
That's true, because you're very good at your job and you don't want to say something that isn't true. And if you did, I would be upset. But you don't, because you're amazing at your job, and that's why you're one of the best to do it. That's why everyone respects you so much.
And this was the kind of thing I was talking about earlier, where I said Ian Garry says so many things that are incredibly delusional that have nothing to do with his fight. Ariel Helwani being respected by everybody. I'm showing screenshots of the last year alone where Ariel Helwani on his own show has received record numbers of dislikes. I mean, I've been following MMA for over 12 years, folks, and I don't think I've ever seen a high-profile reporter receive this many dislikes on his own videos, on his own channel. It's almost record-breaking. Let's continue.
Ariel, I do more media than every single fighter on every single pay-per-view I've been on. It's nuts. I hit so many different markets and continents that I have to do so much more than the biggest fighters in the pay-per-views.
And that is another incredibly delusional take from Ian Garry. Him saying that he does more media than anybody on UFC pay-per-views is just another sign how he's being delusional where he doesn't even need to be. This isn't self-belief for him to be the best fighter he can be. This is delusion to make him seem like he's the gift to the world. I mean, it's even hard to describe. Let's continue.
Going in there and being the 26-year-old prospect that I am, I went out and I showed that I'm just levels above everyone else.
And this is just more incredible delusion from Ian Garry, because he did not prove that he is levels above anybody with that performance against Jeff Neal. The only people who will say that that fight was not remotely close and it was a travesty that even one person, meaning one judge, saw one round to give to Jeff Neal are Ian Garry superfans. That fight could have gone either way, and the fact that Ian Garry believes he was outclassing Jeff Neal and proved that he's levels above everybody, I mean, it's not quite as bad as Paddy Pimblett against Jared Gordon, because Jared Gordon wasn't ranked, but it's still terrible.
I don't think Colby accepts that fight in Ireland, in Vegas, in Florida, on the moon. I really don't. I don't know if.
And isn't it funny that Ariel Helwani had Colby Covington on his show a record amount of times back when Covington had just started his character, and all of a sudden now he's against him and he's saying that Colby Covington will never take the fight. I mean, say what you want about Colby Covington, but he would take that fight in a heartbeat because the alternative is Shavkat Rakhmonov. And I don't really care what exactly happened between him and Covington, but it just shows, again, who Ariel Helwani is. We'll see where Ian Garry goes from here on, but I do not ever see him being a champion. And if I'm proven wrong in a couple of years, then you guys can come back to this video and say, well, this didn't age well. But that's my opinion. I don't think he'll ever be a champion. We'll see what happens. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.